Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the Mayor Heath Sheeran and the host of this podcast. And I got a great guest today. My main man, Christopher Franklin, is hanging out with me today. And I just wanted to catch up with him and hear a little bit about what he's got going on, get a recap from InsurTech Connect, and all the good things. I love this guy. He's become, a brother from another mother and a really good friend of mine over the last couple of years. This episode is sponsored by my good friends over at Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down. And they do what they do for you with no annual fees, with higher commission, lower premium thresholds, $11 billion in written premium. It's no wonder they're the fastest growing. And my friends over at Canopy Connect. That's right. Canopy Connect. They are your one-click solution to getting the deck pages you need to quote your prospects. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't checked them out, I don't know what you're doing. You've got to go do it. They help you get deck pages. They help you get loss runs, driver's list, and they now have intake forms. And it's so easy. It's just something you've got to add into your process. It'll help you with prospecting, with referrals. It'll help you with renewals. It'll help you with commercial, personal, you name it. Use canopy.com/Heath. Go check it out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to slide out of the way so you can check out this amazing conversation with my man, Christopher Franklin.
It's all good, sir. It's all good. It's all good.
I love you. I was just going to start off with that.
Love you too, man. Love you too.
Oh, man. Where are you right now?
I am in Philadelphia, Philly. I'm here with a up-and-coming tech company that's solving problems in the AI, people, technology space. Mate, it's happening. It's happening.
Dude, that is awesome.
It's coming. It's coming. This is...
Speaking of happening, you spent like half a year and 3 weeks in Vegas.
Yes.
How was your residency there, man? How'd it go? Tell me about it. Be honest. Be real with me. What was it? 3 weeks in Vegas? That's a long freaking time, bro.
Mate, I'm gonna be super real with you. It was a long time to be away from home. It was. I got to know my Starbucks barista very well. She knew me, but she was like, "Hey, Chris, you here again for your $10.55 latte?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm back again." Mate, it was like anything. Like you spend enough time in a situation and you become familiar with it. But for me, it was like, man, AppliedNet was big, ITC was big. I would do it again. It was phenomenal. I got to spend a lot of time with agency partners on one side of the fence, and then I got to play with the insurtechs on the other side of the fence, and it was like two very different worlds, but two very similar spaces at the same time.
Yeah, bro. So and then I also saw you were doing content for ITC and recording stuff, and you were on the big stage doing some it was cool. Like you were taking over Vegas.
So for ITC, I did live at ITC, which was interviewing some startups coming through who were doing some very cool things in the insurtech space, which was absolutely phenomenal. Always good to speak to those guys. So for ITC was very like, hey, here are some startups coming through doing some really, really good work in the insurance space. And ITC is, hey, what's happening in the broader space around insurtech and insurance and automation and AI. And dude, it was massive.
I was very impressed. I went about 3 or 4 years ago. Stacy and I went right during pandemic in 2021, and I was impressed then to see that many people, and this year to see 10,000 or more people there, to see that many vendors, see that much going on. For me, with somebody with ADHD, it was like freaking kid in a candy store. Like there was lights and events and vendors and squirrel moments everywhere. And people ask me about it, and I don't really know how to put it into words, how to describe it unless you're there, because there's really, in my opinion, there's something there for everyone, especially now that they have the agents and brokers track. I mean,
Yeah.
there's something for buyers, there's something for sellers, there's something for investors, there's something just for the curious, just to walk around and see. I mean, there's literally, in my opinion, there's something for everyone. And so, have you figured out a way to put ITC into a couple of words? Or are you kind of like me, where it's like you really
Couple of
can't?
words. Dude, I've been going for like I think I hit 10 years out of 10, which makes me really old.
I wasn't
I
gonna
don't
say
know.
it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you always. Look, I think look, ITC is its own thing, right? I think it has its own momentum. The the genesis of ITC came from trying to innovate within the insurance ecosystem, which at the time was kind of like a complete anomaly around how do we build products? How do we deliver a insurance experience that's very different to what we're accustomed to? We're talking about the hybrid of insurance technology and human expertise, which for me kind of culminates around the thesis of the bionic agent. So for people who are
Yeah,
on this call, just like concept of how do we bring people, technology, and process together in a way that makes sense, right? How do we automate what needs to be automated, and where do we use people where people need to be used, right? Which is
right.
within the customer segment. Having conversations like this, right, which may not be perfect, but they're human, right, where it's real and it's a conversation and it's not automated, and it's like, hey, how do I understand Heath, and how does Heath understand Christopher? Um, so, I think ITC is on this cusp of AI is becoming real, and it's not just a buzzword. For me, like I said, I've been there every year for the past 10 years, and we've seen buzzwords, we've seen blockchain, we've seen powered by blockchain, we've seen powered by AI. And for me, this year felt a little different in the sense that AI is driving a lot. I think behind the scenes, behind the hood, when you pull, when you peel behind the layers, there's some essence of AI, but at the same time, it's about solving problems. It's about tackling real issues.
Well, yeah. When you say that, let me interrupt you for a second,
Yeah,
because
no, no, feel free.
of the 500 or so vendors that were there, I would say more than half of them had something to do with AI within their
Yeah,
solution.
yeah.
How many of those would, or how do you, let me put it this way. How do you, Christopher Franklin, decide who are the pretenders and who are the contenders? Who are the ones that are legit, or who are the ones that are just trying to use .ai at the end of their name, so to speak, just to be cute and get a couple of people to come by their booth? How do you decide who's here for the long haul and who's not?
Mate, it's such a good question. And I think it has to come to you as the individual asking the question, what, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve? What is the challenge that I'm facing as an organization? What is it I'm trying to do or deliver to my customers? And can I do that myself, or do I need to engage with an external partner to do that? Right. So it's like, hey, if I'm ingesting documents, if I'm trying to digitize loss runs, or if I'm an insurance agency and I'm trying to say, hey, I want to amplify or reimagine my renewal process and deliver a better experience for my customers, is that something I can do today myself, or is that something I need to partner with somebody to do? And look, I think I think we're all pretty much on board with this is game changing in terms of capabilities, in terms of how people work. Like, this isn't really a buzzword anymore. This is a fundamental shift in how we think about technology and how we work. Um, but we also know that the insurance industry is quite fragmented. There's complexity. There are regulatory challenges around what we automate, how we automate. So obviously, there are still things that we need to consider from a human perspective. That from an automation point of view, I think when you see something around AI, it's like this is the reality of how we're working today. And when I think about the future, and I think about my kids and your kids and everybody else in this space, we need to pay attention.
I was thinking about, I think it was 2023, you and myself and Lamparelli. It
Yeah.
was right when ChatGPT first really launched their premium services. Wasn't that right about, I think it was about 2023. And we were blown away then, and we were thinking, this is game changer. You and I spoke on stage at a conference about AI, and you were talking about, and this was early stages
Early,
of like Mid
early. This was
Journey,
early, dude.
very
This,
early. And now I fast forward now, and you and I spoke at a conference in Arkansas about AI, and you did a whole thing at, um, we were in California, and you were talking about
yeah.
AI, in Santa
Oh,
Monica with me. And so I feel like you and I, been on this journey together, watching this AI with generative AI and ChatGPT and Midjourney and Claude and all these things come to life. And so obviously, like you and I, when we talk about it, sometimes I roll my eyes. People talk about AI, and there's still people out there that when we talk about AI, it's still kind of a new concept and they're trying to wrap their head around Gen AI. But now, like I said, when I'm at ITC or I'm at any of these conferences and they're talking about AI and generative AI and predictive modeling and the future of insurance is wrapped into AI, at what point do you feel like it starts to just normalize where it's not this all encompassing, or it's not this, pulverizing, whatever you want to call the word, when AI just becomes normal? Like, do you remember like
oh,
when the internet first came out, in insurance, people were like, oh my gosh, it's the internet and it's going to ruin us. And I'm not getting a website. And then it became, we have to have websites. And then it's like, we have to shop online. And now it's just normalized. At what point do you feel like AI becomes normalized and it's like the air we breathe or the internet
man,
or Wi-Fi or automobiles for that matter,
I am
or a
so
cheeky
glad.
beer for a Brit?
A cheeky bro, a cheeky beer for a Brit. Look, mate, I'm so glad you asked that question. My my first job in the technology space was with a .com company called lastminute.com. And it was in London. I worked in Marble Arch. It's probably 1999 before I moved to New York City. And they went on to be sold to Travelocity and become very successful. Um, for me, this is kind of the .com era again. I think we're seeing that emergence of innovation, thought leadership, the excitement and the opportunity around AI. Um, Heath, mate, for me and you, man, we're like, dude, I'm in my 40s, you're in your 40s, dude. I think the ship has sailed. I think for, dude, I think, mate, I'm just saying, like, I think this is like, I see my 5 year old, I see my 5 year old interact with Alexa. And I've got an article coming out on bionicagent.com talking about Alexa Plus and the advancements around AI with Alexa. And seeing him interact with a robot in a way that for us is very foreign is alarming. and in a weird way exciting as well. As I said earlier, I'm a former engineer. I've lived in a binary world of ones and zeros my entire life. Um, and I think with Alexa and voice AI, we've existed in this space where we ask a question and we get an answer. You know, we ask a question about, for my son, it's about police cars or it's about dinosaurs, and we get an answer. Um, he is moving at 5 years. He turned five yesterday. He's moving into a space where he's asking questions that are more emotional. They're more attached. Um, and I don't know what that means for us, mate. I really don't. I don't know if that means that we're like taking the ones and zeros and we're telling like we're finding this space where we can find connection and emotion within the logic, but suddenly this is becoming a very very different playing field. And I think for insurance, it's a very different playing field, right? We're creating products, we're creating an experience for insureds that is not really binary, it's not logical. It's based around connection and emotion. So I'm quite positive that I think we can use the technology to transform how we interact with people, but at the same time we have to be very cognizant of, let's not automate too much, right? Let's automate the things that we can digitize, the stuff that we can say, hey, maybe, you know, Heath doesn't need to be doing this on a daily basis, or so and so doesn't need to be doing this on a daily basis, but we can still try to connect with people on the level that is, you know, human.
Yeah.
um
I first of all, I agree. First of all, happy birthday, Finn. That's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Um, Second of all, you know, I have an Alexa in every room in my house, literally every
Yeah,
room in my house. I think we own 7 Alexas. Like we have them in everywhere but the
I have so
bathrooms.
many.
Like
I have so many.
it's ridiculous. And then I have them connected where I've got one over here at my office here, and then 5 miles away, there's one at my wife's office, the PIA of Arkansas. And so I'm connected literally, maybe like right now, you know, right before I started recording with you, you know, it's nighttime and my kids are home alone and I'm making sure they don't burn the house down. And so I'm dropping in on them and like, you know, checking in to make sure they're okay. Like we're literally connected at all times. And you can probably, someone could go back several episodes, maybe a year or so back on this show. And I brought up this idea, not idea, but just thought process of with these Alexas, I could see a world where someone could, you know, just speak to their Alexa and say, hey, I just, or like, hey, honey, I just realized we bought a new car yesterday. We got to get insurance on it. And they could just say, hey, Alexa, I need an insurance quote on my new car. VIN number is da 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 da. And it could like ping some agent, get a quote real quick, or, you know, go to a website somewhere, get a quote and give me a quote within seconds on my Alexa. And then like, would you like to bind this quote? And I could like somehow bind it through Alexa somehow, or they could like send me an email real quick with a DocuSign or something. I don't know. I just, or,
Well,
you know, I mean, hell, I could order a pizza to my front door from my
man.
Alexa. I don't know why I couldn't do that, or at the very least, you know, call an insurance agent from my Alexa or something. I don't know. I just feel like I'm with you. It's exciting and it's scary at the same time. The other
So
you wanted to say something there, and then I have something else I want to get into.
go
But
on,
go ahead.
go on. No,
No,
no.
no.
Look. I think a certain perspective. I think the automation side makes sense, right? Where, hey, there's a straight through process where um, it's kind of like an open and shut case where I need this very, you know, very specific type of insurance
Yeah,
policy, and we can automate that. And look, I think there's room where that could potentially occur. I think the complexity of other types of insurance obviously um, still requires the human in the loop, the hittle, or you know whatever it might be. But
yeah.
no, Heath, Heath, look. I don't think you're terribly far off the mark. but anybody who's been around football or soccer, right? So there's kind of, you have these Heath, you have these statistics around soccer, like XG, which is expected goals, right? Which is, if I play a game of soccer, how many goals am I expected to score based on my statistics for that game? I'm like, well, hang on a second. When you look at risk or a profile of risk, what's my expected premium? What's my XP, right? What is my, whether it's for auto, home, whatever it might be, what's my XP? Um, I think at some point we get to the point, where we are living in a world where risk is monitored and calculated on a very dynamic, ongoing basis. And Heath Sharon's, I'll say X, whether it's XR, like expected risk is this, or XP, or expected premium is this. Heath just had a bacon and egg sandwich. He's XP has just gone down by 5 points, right? So
Yep.
I think at some point, right, we have this, and
Yeah.
we have this insight into our risk profiles that perhaps we haven't had for a quite long time.
A couple of things, and man, there's so many things I want to get into, but so I don't know if you saw this. I posted recently. I saw an article that came out, and it's not helping my case at all, and what you're talking about either. However, Amazon is laying off 14,000 executives,
Yes. Yep.
and I posted yesterday after I dug in deeper. Because at first it's alarming. You see that number, and they even said in the article, because of AI, we can replace certain things with AI. We're letting go of 1,400. Sorry,
Correct. Correct.
1,400.
1,400. 1,400. Thank you.
So 1,400. However, when you look at a company with 350,000 employees, or is it 35,000? I can't remember. The number ended up being 5%, less than 5% of what they laid off. Which, if they would have put that in the article of Amazon lays off 5% of their executives, it wouldn't have been as alarming as 1,400. And so, still, it's a big number. Number two, I think about it in the sense of, they weren't getting rid of people. If you dig deeper into it, they were getting rid of redundancy. They were getting rid of inefficiencies. They were getting rid
Yeah.
of things of that nature. Now, I say all that because, again, I have so much I want to cram into this. So I'm going to say a lot, and I want you to, whatever you want to come back at. Here's the thing. I think let's go back to when people first started going to H&R Block to file their own taxes. I
Yeah.
remember that being a big deal to me and thinking, well, there's the end of the local tax guy. But I will never do my taxes online. Number one, because I don't trust myself. Number two, if I need questions or I need something answered, I don't want to go to hnrblock.com and do it. No offense to H&R Block. If I just
No.
lost a potential sponsor down the road of H&R Block, I
No.
apologize. But, it was not the end of CPAs across the country. I
Correct.
start thinking about the first time I heard someone list their own house, and they did their own for sale by owner. I was like, well, there's the end of the realtor. Now people can just go online and FISBO everything. Nope.
Yeah.
We still have realtors and realtors.com and realtors everywhere. Like, whenever people started, going online at Carvana and buying their own cars, I thought there's the end of the car company or whatever. Nope. We still have people going to used car lots and haggling with the all annoying car salesman. Again, if you're a car salesman, I love you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying people still go to realtors. People still go to the car lots. People still go to their tax guy. People are still going to go to the local independent insurance agent, in my opinion. I don't think there's ever going to be the death of the independent insurance agent. And I've been hearing this for 20 years now,
Mate,
25
for a
years.
lot. Yes.
We're
Yes.
not going anywhere. So people that are listening to this right now, freaking out, they're going to have, things taken away, or they're going to be let go, or something's going to happen. Uncle Heath's here to tell you. The mayor is here to tell you you're going to be okay.
Look, I think the mayor is bang on the money. I think Uncle Heath is on the money. I think the mayor's on the money. Yes, sir. But look, I think the fact is, um, the world is shifting very quickly. The world is changing very quickly. I think you're on the money. I really do. I appreciate my agent. God, I really appreciate my agent. Like, I get the email to say, hey, your apartment in New York City, you have a arson form you need to fill out. It's got to be done. Chris, you've been bailing on this for the past 2 months, dude. You got to get it done, otherwise your insurance policy is going to be revoked and everything else. And I'm like, thank you, State Farm. Shout out to Jake and the State Farm, but thank you for your
Right.
I'm like, thank you so much for your email. Not just the first email, the second and the third and the fourth, where they're like, seriously, like, just sign this bloody form and return it to us, and we're good for another year. I'm like, God, thank you so much. My my agents to me have been an absolute godsend. I had a flood in my basement, and they're like, Chris, you're flying to China tomorrow. We're going to take care of this for you, and we'll find the people
Yeah.
that you need. Mate, if I'm being honest, I feel like I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know whether this becomes automated or whether we have some type of system in place where a lot of these functions become automated. It's not today. It's not happening today. It might happen in my child's lifetime. It's not happening in our lifetime, Heath. I think,
I don't think
you
so
know,
either. But
I still feel like we need people to speak to, if there's
100%.
any level of complexity with insurance, we still want that conversation.
100%. Now, tell me this um about, okay, you and I, we talk on a regular, and you've been talking about, as AI thought leadership community, and you've been talking about the bionic agent, and you've
Yeah.
been talking about, a big reveal and things like that. But before we get into too much, I would love for you to talk to me about this community that you're building, and talk to me a little bit about that. Talk about the bionic. Just give me some of that. Let the audience know what you're building, what you're up to, what's going on.
So no, thanks, Heath. Look, I've been around tech for 20, 25 years. I'm not super old, but I'm kind of old. But
I'm right with you,
I've been
bro.
around. We're kind of old, but I've been around automation for quite a long time. Um, I do feel like this is a unique moment in time where things are moving very quickly, and people are asking questions about AI and what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my job? What does it mean for my kids? So what I'm building is a community called bionicagent.com, which is kind of a thought leadership platform around AI and thinking about AI. How do I use AI, specifically within the insurance space, but kind of, what does it mean for my business? What does it mean for the industry, for my customers? And it's kind of like this opportunity to look at technology as an opportunity to learn about AI and think about it in a human sense. How do we use it today? How do we augment what we're doing today, right? How do we not it's not about replacing or doing things faster or doing things more efficiently. It's about, it's more about how do we do things better. Um, and I'm quite passionate about that. I think as people, we have to look at technology. First and foremost, how do we do things better? How do we make our job today more functional, more effective than it was yesterday? And I think before we start having that conversation about replacing people or laying off people, you mentioned Amazon, and it's like, dude, it's like, man, this is coming very, very quickly. Um, and I think that there's a segment of the industry which is quite on board with AI. They're saying, "Hey, we're using ChatGPT, we're using Copilot, we're using this every day. And there's another segment that's saying, I really don't know what to do with this. I don't know how it's going to help me. I don't know I'm scared. I'm used to sitting in my little corner in my silo doing things my way, and suddenly you're telling me that my job could be automated. And I speak about this a lot, Heath. If you ever hear me at events or
I've
Reuters or
heard you too many
ITC.
times, brother.
Oh, mate, you
I've
hear me. You hear me a lot, but
recorded all your sessions.
but I'm quite passionate about. I'm so passionate
I know
about
you
it
are.
because, well, I just feel like people have, they need a fair chance. They
Yeah,
need,
they do.
they need to have a shot. Give give them a shot before they're kind of discarded to the pile of redundant workers, because it's coming quickly, and I think that we need to upskill. We need to, we need to train people around AI. Mate, honestly, it's going to be this. This is tough, dude. This is coming so quickly. I'm so fearful for people who aren't using this today. I gave my son my account to ChatGPT because I'm like, Xander, you have to learn this now. You need to get on board now, because if you don't, at 15 years of age, you're only 15. When you graduate from high school, you're going to be so behind the curve. The schools aren't teaching this, Heath. The schools are saying, hey, turn the other way. You got to write this from scratch. I'm like, no, you need to
Yep.
understand how this shit works. You have to, because you are not setting these kids up to succeed. They're going to come out from school and be like, I know nothing about AI.
Look at
Yo,
this guy,
what is this? Yo, Casey.
Chris,
Casey.
Heath,
Perfect timing. We were just talking about our
Man,
kids using AI and how we're trying
man.
to, teach our kids they need to start using AI now.
Now,
Because if not, when they graduate, they're going to be way behind.
oh, yeah, for sure. First of
Casey.
all, yeah, Chris, I'm so happy I get to jump on this pod and invade. I appreciate the invitation,
Dude,
and it's so good to see you guys.
we were just talking about a community that Chris is building for people that want to learn more about AI called the Bionic Agent. And then Casey texted me. I was like, hey, it's perfect timing to get the three bros back together from California. We'll just hang out again for a minute.
Man, I love this.
Yeah,
I'm
I
fe-
love.
I'm feeling the sunshine. I'm surrounded by like cold and Philly cold weather, but this is good.
Yeah, well, in Dallas, we're having some cold weather too, which is really clutch because we all have our quarter zips on, which is
Yes, sir.
fantastic. Just
Oh,
happened.
yeah, the quarter zip bros.
Quarter zip
Look at
gang, quarter zip
this.
bros,
Quarter zip bros
QBZ.
By the
Q-
way,
right here.
Stacy's in Dallas right now as we
oh
speak.
man, well, she
You need to,
came
you need
in
to text her.
just at a time with some wicked wind and some
Yeah.
bad weather, but I hope she's having a good time indoors someplace. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So back to AI.
yeah.
Are your girls using AI? We're talking about kids using AI. His 15-year-old, he's like giving him a ChatGPT account and said, "Get after it." Are your girls involved with AI at all? Are
So
they
I
using
haven't.
Chat?
Right. So I haven't given them any accounts yet. And actually, that's a really good idea. I thought about just recently because I signed up for Coursive and I actually thought I
Oh,
was
I
going
did
to.
too. I love Coursive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so happy with it. And I'm starting to think that like I want to go through it with them. Like I might start over and have them with me so I can kind of give the dad approach, the dad opinion on it. But we did actually do like a mini lesson because me being a former teacher, I know that they hate that I was a former teacher. But we wanted to okay, so Stranger Things, the last season comes out
It's a good
on
season.
oh, I can't wait. So they're doing something really cool. The first half of the last season comes out on Thanksgiving, and then
Yeah.
the last half comes out on Christmas, and then the finale comes out on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. So I went to ChatGPT and we this was their first exposure to AI with me. As I said, okay, like let's have ChatGPT build us a schedule so that we can watch all of the episodes leading up to Thanksgiving, knowing that they're with me every other weekend and we're a couple nights a week. And like it built us an entire schedule that we're following. So like
Yep.
that was my first opportunity to show them that hey, ChatGPT is more than just like a hey, write this term paper or this essay. It's like hey, like help me problem solve this thing that I want in some way that might actually be useful in my life. So I don't know if it stuck with them, but certainly that was my first attempt, and I was really excited that it worked.
So yeah, I love it. So
I love
Chris,
that.
tell me, we're still on your interview. Casey hasn't completely hijacked. He's just going to come in and ask a guest question here in a minute. But
I love that. I love to see Casey.
Of course you do. Okay, so bionic agent, the community you're building, what is the most asked question that you get right now from independent agents when you're talking AI or when you come off of stage? What's one of the first things that they ask you?
Mate, the first thing I think the biggest ask, Heath, is how do I get started with AI? And AI is this all-encompassing space that requires you to have good data, or at least understand how your data is being. It doesn't have to be good. It depends. It depends what you're using it for, right? Like if you're underwriting, or if you're trying to automate a claim, your data had better be pretty accurate, right? But if you're trying to just provide some advice to somebody before they interact with an agent, then it doesn't have to be 100%. So you need to kind of understand where and how that data is being used, and when to automate, when not to automate. But how do you, as an agency, do that? How do how do you know if your data is good? How do you know if you're looking at renewals that it's accurate, right? So I think there's a big gap between AI and being able to use AI, and then being in the position to say, hey, I'm in the position as an agency or as a carrier or as an insurance entity, that my data is usable to do what I need it to do.
That's a lot, man.
It's a lot.
And I can't believe that we're at this stage we talked about earlier. So many people in different stages of their AI, and for people to say, where do you begin? I mean, that's very difficult to ask, to answer, because you don't know. Everybody's beginning is a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Everybody's
There's no
speaking. Bang
there's
on.
no starting line that's the same for everyone. And that's the difficult part about it, because my starting point may have been 5 miles ahead of Casey's starting point, and your son's starting point may be ahead of some insurance agent's starting point. So you never really know.
Man.
But that's the difficult part about this whole thing, in my opinion. It's different than the internet. I feel like we all started the same spot when the internet started, or when we were all introduced to internet. But with AI, it's so different, in my opinion.
Mate, for me, it was a game changer. I'm like, hang on a second. So we're not like, this is not a Q&A situation anymore. This is not binary. This is not ones and zeros. This is not like, what is a police car? What is a Quetzalcoatl, whatever dinosaur that he, like, the flavor of the week dinosaur. Like, tell me about this dinosaur. This
Are you
is
making up dinosaurs now?
Quetzalcoatlus. Is that right? Am I any dinosaur fanatics on here? But I didn't make
If
that
you've
up.
ever heard of the Quetzalcoatlus, then shoot me a comment on this. If you haven't, then
Casey,
send Christopher Frank an email and tell me he's
Quetzalcoatlus.
an idiot.
Man, I could have said Velociraptor, but look, dude. I think the fact is that, mate. I think the fact is that, dude. Like, this is not ones and zeros anymore. This is not like, hey, what's the weather tomorrow? Set a timer for 5 minutes. This is like, let's have an emotional conversation at 5 years of age of why Kevin McAllister decided to leave, his family behind at Christmas, or why his family left him behind at Christmas. It's like, this is deep shit. It's like, and mate, we're so early. This is still like the first inning of AI. Like, we are so early with this technology, man. We just came out of RPA, which was like glorified screen scraping. Everybody's, like, we are so early with all of this stuff that 5, 10 years from now, dude, I I I I anticipate, not to get too morbid, but my father passed away a couple of years ago, and yesterday was his birthday, and I was thinking about this stuff, and I was like, man, if I could have just if I could have just captured more content about my dad, I could have created a digital version of my dad and had conversations with him. I don't think we're far away from that, man. I think my son, I think my kids, my daughter, by the time we're old enough to pass, are going to be having conversations, having conversations with us far beyond our time here.
Man,
That's a lot.
No, it definitely weren't morbid. I appreciate the transparency, and I appreciate you opening up and telling, because I think you're right. I think there is a day when that happens. And, at first I thought it might have been a VR situation, but, then I've thought about the hologram situation, and then I've thought about all kinds of random ways that you could connect with your, relatives who have passed, or, other people, but I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think you're right. It will happen one of these days. But again, I don't think it's anytime soon. Casey, I know you joined us, crashed the party at the end. And as my, party crasher guest host, do you have a last question for my friend, or our friend, Mr. Franklin here, about anything, before we sign out?
Yeah, I do. I think so. One of the things I was remembering as I was presenting or preparing for a presentation recently was back in college, I had to read, when I was taking education classes at Western Michigan University, a paper called Digital Immigrants and Digital Natives. Chris, have you ever read that paper by any chance?
I know that paper. Yes, I do.
Okay. So that was written in 2001. So
yes.
I used that a lot. Like it stuck with me, and not a lot stuck with me from my ed classes, but that one did. That one did. And so I spent a lot of time reading it again and thinking about it. And so much of what Mark, I think it's Persay or Perk, I can't remember his last name, but so much of what he said back then really, really came to be. Like he was spot on. And now 24 years later, I think that like we could rewrite that paper and say, AI immigrants versus AI natives, because we're all going to be AI immigrants, right? But our kids are going to be AI natives to a larger extent. And like, what do you think in terms of the ability to communicate and educate and problem solve? We could have challenges. We're going to be the old people in the room, is what I'm getting to. Like we're going to be the old farts in not too distant future, and we're going to be hiring young people that came up with AI. So like, what challenges or strategies do you anticipate? What challenges do you anticipate, and what strategies do you predict? If you were rewriting that article today, knowing what you know because you're the expert, what do you think we should be doing to prepare to be better managers and leaders in the future?
Great question, bro.
Casey, that's a terrific question. Look, I don't know if either of you are like Ready Player One fans, but that's another great novel and sort of okay movie. But like, the concept is this idea of technology and automation becoming part of our lives. No, look, the article and yourself, Casey, are bang on. We are. I thought of myself as a digital native, because I've been around the .com space for quite a long time. But I think we're becoming kind of refugees to this idea of a digital continuous space where our kids, it's not about asking a question and getting an answer. This is a continuous relationship between our children and technology, where it's a continuous partnership for them. For us, it's about asking a question. How does technology help us do a job more efficiently? How does technology, answer a question more effectively? Where do we become the human in the loop, right? I mean, are we subjecting ourselves to this existence where we become the approvers or deniers of claims or of an insurance policy being written? Is that our future? Which is pretty miserable, isn't it? That's not a good future. And I think, and so Casey, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that technology is becoming more immersive in everything that we do. I think there's a lot of opportunity around tech and around AI. Our kids are, man, they just have this ability to interact and absorb technology in a way that we don't, and we know that, right? We ask questions, and we're always looking for the wrong. We're always looking for the negative. We're always looking for why this won't work. Our kids don't give a
Right.
shit. They just go with it. They go with it.
Yep. They just go with it. You're right.
They just go with it. So I
and with,
think,
you know,
yeah, go ahead, Heath.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, I think you're spot on. I think there's enough, you know, going back to the kids thing. I think there's enough in our industry that are accepting and adapting and moving forward that we're going to be okay as an industry. But then there's enough that are still kind of stuck in the past or the way things have always been. Heck, there's still agencies that are using file cabinets. They still haven't even graduated from that yet. And so there's going to be some, you know, late adopters that won't. But, you know, I could continue on forever, but my kids have probably burnt my house down by now. They've been alone now for an hour. Brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate you hanging out. We should do our own version of Smartless with the three of us and just do some podcasts someday. And just, I don't know if you ever listen to that podcast, but it's the best with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett.
Smartless is awesome.
100%.
Yeah.
So we should have our own insurance version of Smartless. But guys, first of all, Casey, I appreciate you just coming to hang out, bringing the California guys back together. Dude, that was so much fun in California. I'm so glad we got to reunite. Good question, by the way. I love you both dearly. I got to go make sure my house is not burnt to the ground. Kate, you know, luckily they're teenagers, so they're okay. But I love you both. Thank you for hanging out, Chris. Thank you for joining, Casey. And I got to sign out. But
Peace, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, fellas. Cheers, Casey. Cheers, Heath.